All right, welcome back, everyone. Remember that guy, Joe Biden? He is seriously entertaining a run for the White House. If so, I believe it would be his third such run, but this one carries some considerable heft. He's a lot better known this go-round than his last two attempts. Charlie Gasparino has been getting some interesting details from folks. Charlie.
Yeah, well, on the record, as you know, Neil, he's kind of non-committal. He doesn't say yes, he doesn't say no. He recently said on some other network that, you know, I hope other people go as well, join the race. But here's what, that's publicly. But behind the scenes, Joe Biden is making a lot of noise that he is likely to run. I'm not saying he is, but here's what he's doing. And we've reported this a couple of weeks ago, and we hear there's been additional conversations that the former VP continues to meet with Wall Street executives. And why do you meet with Wall Street executives right now? Well, you're meeting with them to establish a network, a fundraising network, to do a fundraising blitz if and when he does get in. And again, in these private meetings, he is still non-committal. He does say if he runs, the only person that he will oppose is Donald Trump, and that's because of the age. President Trump would be 74 in a couple years in 2020 when the 2020 elections take place, and the former vice president would be 78. He believes that's not a big age difference, and it takes age out of the equation in what will be obviously a pretty brutal campaign, because these two guys like to slug it out, as you know. But listen, let's just point out, Joe Biden has not declared he's going to run. He has not told Wall Street executives he's going to run, but he is making noises that he is serious. Well, he's definitely seriously considering it, and he's making noises that he will run, because there's no other reasons why you meet with these guys unless you want to establish a fundraising network. So again, that doesn't mean he's going to do it, but you know, he's quacking like a duck right now, as they say. Neil, back to you.
And he polls pretty well, right? I know he's doing about 10 points better than Bernie Sanders. These things are fleeting in the time being, but
right.
the best snapshot we have. So he would enter the race a formidable candidate, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and you know, when I talk to fundraisers, what they tell me is this. They say, you know, these other guys that are thinking of running, the Cory Bookers that are out there, the Elizabeth Warrens, a lot of them don't really have, when they meet with them, they don't really have a centralized message. Their only message is, we need to beat Donald Trump. They don't say, here's how we want to run the country differently. They don't have a lot of knowledge. They don't have a lot of depth in terms of what they would do with taxes and regulation and other issues. Their only issue is to defeat Donald Trump. Biden comes with a lot different mojo. He comes with, here's how we would change from a foreign policy standpoint. Here's what I think is good about Trump's economics plans. Here's what I think is bad. I mean, I think he believes that, you know, a massive corporate tax cut is not the best thing in the world. Although he's the type of guy that would understand that you need to normalize the tax rates among corporations in the U.S., make the U.S. competitive. So that's, I think, another reason why he's got a lot of Wall Street guys, smart people who want, and these are Democratic Wall Street guys, he's got them hoping and praying he does go in, because it seems like he's got a clue.
Yeah, well, he could be formidable, and he is funny, but the president's funny, so it could be a yuck.
And they're both, and they both could be nasty.
Yeah, they could also be, yeah, exactly, the Cocoon Club. All right, thank you very, very much, Charlie.